Hey guys, welcome to Cape and Cowl Cafe. I'm Nemo, and today we're going to be ranking all of the live-action Spider-Man movies from worst to best. If you guys enjoyed the video at any point today, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button, but let's just hop right into this. Alright, starting off the list in last place at number 8, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, I absolutely despise this movie. I think this is the worst Spider-Man movie ever made, and I just really don't like it. The main problem I have with this movie is Peter's struggle with responsibility, okay? Because, like, in this movie, he wants to take a break from being Spider-Man. He wants to go on this vacation. He wants to hang out with MJ, ask her out. That's cool. Those are, things that Peter can want. But the thing is, those should not take priority over his responsibility to be Spider-Man. Now, in the comics, there are instances where Peter struggles with his dual identity and he wants to give it up. But it's usually because, someone dies or something, and he feels like immense guilt, and just it's never because he wants to go on some stupid ass Disney Channel adventure with Ned, and it just doesn't work. I don't like it. He feels very immature in this movie, and it just doesn't feel like Spider-Man to me. Now, speaking of a Disney Channel adventure, that is exactly what this movie feels like. It feels like a teen Disney Channel movie, especially with all of the high school characters. They were way better in the last movie, and now they all kind of feel like caricatures, especially that new guy, who's just flirting with MJ, and then you have Ned with this weird week-long relationship with Betty Brant that's just, it's just there for like a fun little gag, and it doesn't really mean anything, and it's stupid. But this movie takes so many ideas from Spider-Man Homecoming, and instead of expanding upon them or, doing something interesting with them, it just either ignores them or turns it into a dumb joke. That last movie ended with Aunt May finding out that Peter is Spider-Man. That was a huge, dramatic cliffhanger. We were wondering, what's going to happen with that. Are we going to get to see, some kind of conversation with Aunt May and Peter? They kind of, work things out. Nope. In this movie, she's just automatically fine with him being Spider-Man. No problems at all. There's a fun little gag about him forgetting his suit, and she puts it in there. It's just stupid. I don't like it. And then, Mysterio was alright. Like, you have one good scene, but, again, he's an Iron Man villain, technically. His motivations are he's mad at Tony Stark, which doesn't even make sense because the dude is dead. Just have him be mad at Peter. I get that he hates Peter at the end of the movie because he foiled his plans, but overall, his beef was with Tony Stark, who is dead. There is no point to that. It's just, I hate this movie so much. It's so brain dead. Stupid. They can't even utilize the ideas for this movie properly. They have to take a dump on everything and turn everything into some dumb joke. This movie shows Peter interacting with Nick Fury, which is really interesting because, we all have seen that in the Ultimate comic, so, I think we were all down to see something like that. But it wasn't even Nick Fury. It was a Skrull the whole time, so what was the point? You did that for nothing. It's so stupid. This movie sucks. It's pure garbage. I don't understand anyone who defends this movie. I'm sorry. It's just bad. Also, the Night Monkey suit looks like poop, and it's stupid, and I don't like it. And it was a dumb idea. Very transparent. You're just trying to sell toys, so you gotta shove as many stupid-ass Spider-Man costumes in the movie as possible. I understand, but it looks dumb. Alright, next up on the list at number 7, we have Spider-Man 3. Now, this is the part of the list where the movies aren't really even that bad. I don't hate Spider-Man 3. I think it's pretty good. There's only 2 issues, though, which is why it's this low on the list, and those 2 issues are Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Okay? In this movie, they are both just so insufferable and unlikable, and they really deserve each other because, MJ in these movies is for the streets. She is just the worst. She is going for whatever man has the highest social status at any given time. When she was in high school, she was dating Flash Thompson, the school jock. Then, when she graduated, she was out in the world, she was dating Harry Osborn for a little bit. Then, she made out with Spider-Man. And then, in the next movie, she got engaged to John Jameson, the astronaut. And then, once she found out that Peter was Spider-Man, she left John at the altar to go be with Peter. Then, in this movie, she cheats on Peter with Harry, and she's just the worst. She's terrible. No one should ever be in a relationship with this individual because they will just end up getting hurt because she is truly diabolical. She's despicable. She is a terrible human being. And that is not to say that Peter is any better, okay? In this movie, he is also just so annoying and full of himself and cocky and just whiny, you know? Like, everything's about him. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Shut up, all right? You're a loser, okay? Just because you have spider powers doesn't mean that you're any better of a human being. You're terrible, too. Like, I know that there's some Raimi fans that are gonna be upset with that because, you know, these are the holy grail of Spider-Man movies, but man, he's just terrible in this movie. And that is before he gets the black suit. He's honestly more likable when he's wearing the symbiote and he's being a huge douchebag. That is how bad Peter is characterized in the first part of this movie. It's just baffling. Now, the good parts of this movie, there are quite a few actually. Sandman, phenomenal. Probably one of the best Spider-Man villains we've ever gotten in a live-action movie. Venom, okay, you know, he was fine. I mean, I'm a person that likes Venom to be a villain more than an anti-hero, so I'm naturally going to enjoy this a lot more. And then, you know, Harry Osborn being the new Goblin, like, whatever. But, man, this movie it has some problems, but it also has some really hype moments, and it is just way more enjoyable because of how quotable it is. Everything in this movie is a meme.
Look at little Goblin Jr. Gonna cry?
So, it's not that bad. Alright, next up on the list, at number 6, we have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, this movie's plot is all over the place. It is truly terrible. But man, Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man is so enjoyable to watch, okay? Like, the suit looks peak, the fight sequences are amazing, the swinging scenes are awesome, his chemistry with Gwen Stacy is just off the charts, so enjoyable to watch. Like, I know some people think that those kind of scenes are drawn out and they go on for too long, and I can kind of understand that, but honestly, I think it's fun to watch. I don't even mind. The dialogue is just so good. But like, man, these villains are just terrible. Like, this was a bad movie. So the only reason that it's higher than Spider-Man 3 and Far From Home is because Andrew Garfield does such a good job as Spider-Man. He is so sarcastic and, you know, charming and charismatic and witty. It's just, you know, this is what Spider-Man is supposed to act like. He was the best when it came to the jokes and the quips. But wow, yeah, again, these villains, terrible. Electro, like, I understand that it's hard to get Electro right because he hasn't really had one iconic interpretation. Like, they always change him every single time, you know? Like, I mean, hell, in the animated Spider-Man show from the 90s, he was the son of the Red Skull or something, and, you know, he was like a Nazi. But, I mean, this movie's Electro wasn't any better. He was just a huge nothing burger of a character. And then Harry Osborn as the Goblin, oh my gosh, like, pure garbage. What are we watching? And, you know, I feel like Gwen's death would have felt more, I guess, earned and sad if she was killed by an actual supervillain and not just some whiny, preppy rich boy. I don't know. Like, the scene was amazingly well shot. It just looked incredible. And then, you know, Andrew Garfield's performance as he's holding Gwen's lifeless body is just truly sad and depressing, but could she have been killed by a cooler villain, please? Like, it really took away from the scene for me. But overall, I think it has some really good moments. I think that the visuals are probably the best that they have ever been, but the movie's still not that great, so here it is. Alright, cracking the top 5, we have Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I'm sure that this movie is a lot higher on a lot of other people's lists, but the thing is, for me, this movie gets worse every time I watch it. Like, this movie was not designed to be watched at home. Like, there are just so many long pauses where the audience is supposed to be losing their minds and cheering. And, like, I get it, but if you really want a movie to stand the test of time and be timeless, you can't design it around those hype moments. Like, the movie needs to have more substance so it can stand on its own as a movie and not like an experience, you know? I understand that this was kind of like Avengers Endgame, but for Spider-Man. But man, it really does not hold up when you're watching it on the couch. Now, this movie does have a lot of good moments. I mean, I do love, you know, Peter trying to save the villains. That feels very Spider-Man. I like all the interactions between the 3 Spider-Men.
What are, like, some of the craziest villains that you guys have fought?
Seems you've met some of them.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I fought an alien made out of black goo once.
Oh, no way.
Of course I do. It's hype. It's Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Like, I also was losing my mind in the theater. But, like, you know, when somebody watches this in 20, 30 years, they're not going to know who Andrew Garfield is, or, you know why he just stepped through a portal and know why that's like super insane. Like, I feel like it's not going to have that same relevance in the future. But I do like the ending a lot, where Peter sacrifices his identity to save, I guess, the universe. That's kind of crazy. And I really like what it sets up for the next movie. But I don't know. Like, a lot of this movie just kind of felt hollow, a lot of fan service. Like, there wasn't a single original MCU Spider-Man villain in this movie. They were all villains from the Raimi verse and the Andrew Garfield universe, you know? And Aunt May dying was a pretty good moment, but having her be killed by Tobey Maguire's Green Goblin, it just made it feel kind of hollow. It didn't have the same impact for me, but overall, this movie is still very enjoyable, so it's not the worst. All right, next up on the list at number 4, we have Spider-Man 1. Now, this movie does not hold up in my opinion. That might be a hot take, but we can't really ignore the cultural significance that this movie had and the influence that it had on the superhero genre. I mean, this was one of the first superhero movies in the, 90s, early 2000s to not have the main character wear black leather. That was a huge accomplishment at the time, and this movie was criticized a lot, when it came out, for feeling really goofy and comic booky, but I feel like that's a good thing, Sam Raimi knew what he was doing, he knew the vibe he wanted, and there are lots of parts in this movie that do hold up and are just classic, but I think the dialogue is honestly terrible.
It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind.
Overall, it's a pretty good movie. It started something great. It's alright. Alright, now I might get drawn and quartered and tarred and feathered for this next one, but at number 3, I have Spider-Man 2. Now, I know this movie means a lot to a lot of people, and I also love it, I just think that there's some movies that are just a little bit better. Now, I mean, we cannot ignore what this movie did for Spider-Man and for, comic book culture as a whole. Like, Sam Raimi really nailed the relatable, down on his luck aspect of Peter Parker's life, because he gets dumped on a lot in this movie. And wow, what a great villain. Doc Ock in this movie is just absolutely incredible. I don't know, there are just so many things that this movie gets right, and I think the only reason why it's not higher for me is I just don't like Tobey Maguire as much. I think that he comes across very stale in a lot of his performances. He feels a lot like a mannequin wearing a Spider-Man costume at times. He's just not funny to me, and that's something that's important to me with Spider-Man. He's supposed to be funny, so I'm sorry. As good as this movie is, I gotta put it at number 3. All right, you guys are gonna hate me a lot for this, but above Spider-Man 2, I am placing The Amazing Spider-Man. I just love Andrew Garfield so much, okay? He is my favorite Spider-Man. I just think he is so cool. Like, I don't even care that he's a skater boy in this, this movie. I don't even care that, they cast somebody who looks like they're 30 as a high schooler. I don't care. Andrew Garfield is just so funny and charismatic. He just carries all of the projects that he is in when it comes to Spider-Man. I think that the action of this movie is amazing. I think that the visuals are great. And one thing that really stands out to me in this film is the sound design, like the music and all of the sound effects for like the web shooters and just everything. It's so good. And I really like the suit, okay? I know a lot of people hate this suit. I think it's underrated, and it definitely feels more gritty and edgy, but it was 2012, all right? I think it fit for the time. I think it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, I don't know. And this movie definitely had the best Flash Thompson of any Spider-Man movie, okay? Like, in Tom Holland's movies and in Tobey Maguire's movies, they were just, kind of dumb bullies that didn't really serve any purpose in the story. But, like, this Flash Thompson actually had a small little character arc, where he, kind of becomes more friendly with Peter, and he, feels bad for the way that he treated everyone. That's great, like expanding on characters in your movie and just not having them be caricatures that never change and evolve. Amazing. Like, I don't know. I just love this movie so much. I'm sorry, guys. All right, in first place, we got Spider-Man Homecoming, which might be a shocker to some of you because of how I've been talking about MCU Spider-Man so far. But I really think that Tom Holland's Spider-Man works a lot in this movie. I think that it is just a great underdog story. I mean, I don't really care for him being shoved in with the Avengers all the time. But it works here because he's trying to prove himself. And, you know, I really like the ending where he rejects Tony Stark's offer and he rejects the suit. That just feels very Spider-Man to me. But also, this movie's just fun. Like, this movie embraces the pure joy that would come with being Spider-Man. And specifically, a Spider-Man that hasn't experienced a huge amount of pain yet, you know, besides Uncle Ben and all that. But he's very early on in his career. Being Spider-Man is still mostly just a thrill, you know. It's fun to be Spider-Man. I love the scene where he's just counting down the minutes until he can get out of school and he can suit up and swing around to Spider-Man and just have a good time helping out his neighborhood. That just feels so wholesome and fun to me, you know. And Michael Keaton's Vulture was a great villain. Now, I know what I said earlier about Mysterio hating, you know, Tony Stark. It makes more sense in this movie because Tony Stark is still alive, but also Spider-Man hasn't really been around enough to have his own rogues gallery. He's got to build it up. And I don't know, Michael Keaton's performance was just so good. And while I didn't like the Disney Channel-like high school, you know, stupid humor in Far From Home, I feel like it was toned down and it was way better in this movie because it was more to explore, you know, Peter's relationships with his classmates. It wasn't just for dumb gags and jokes, you know? Like, Peter and Ned is just a great friendship here, and it's, you know, it's a stark contrast to his friendship with Harry, which was always strained because, you know, there's always a little bit of jealousy between them. You know, Harry being jealous of, you know, his father's affection for Peter, and then Peter being jealous that, you know, everything kind of seems so easy for Harry. But, like, Peter and Ned are just homies, and that feels way more realistic. I don't know. This movie's just so fun. And the suit looks pretty good. I don't really like it being a vacuum-sealed bag tech suit, you know, with all this functionality, but I feel like it serves the plot well because, you know, Peter learns to be more independent and just do things on his own after he loses the suit, and that's when he really becomes Spider-Man. I don't know. I like it. I don't really have any more logical reasons as to why. I just think it's a fun movie, and I enjoy it a lot. So, yeah, it's the best. Alright guys, that's going to be about it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it all, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button. It would really mean a lot to me. And drop in the comments down below your favorite Spider-Man movie. Let's talk about it. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later.